Osterville break-ins, biking safety, and an update from the Economic Development Commission on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, June 26, 2012. I'm Sarah Colvin. Chief of Police Paul McDonald tells us officers were called to the parking lot of a condo complex on Main Street in Osterville over the weekend.
Because of the time of day, of course, we had multiple cars that were free. They all converged on the area. They set up a inner perimeter. They called for the dog. The dog quickly tracked the four individuals, and while they were there, I believe they found almost a dozen vehicles that had been broken into. Once the suspects were arrested, they get consent searches of their bedrooms. And right now, as of yesterday afternoon, they were on the verge of closing about 50 B&E motor vehicles.
The chief says in every instance, vehicles were left unlocked.
They were at a party early that night, and on the way home, they just went to 3 or 4 different neighborhoods. They would park their car in a darkened area and just get out of the car, walk up to as many vehicles as they could in the neighborhood, look in the vehicle, see if there was alarm activated, see if the doors were unlocked, and then make a visual inspection of the interior of the vehicle, if there was any GPS, any cameras, iPods, laptop computers. They simply open the car and take whatever they could. And it's amazing at the amount of items they had stolen. Most of the breaks that we have, 85 to 90% of them, the vehicles are left unlocked. Not only the vehicle left unlocked, but then they leave expensive items in clear view. The GPS is still right there on the dashboard. The camera's laying on the seat. The laptop or the iPod might be sitting on the back seat.
The chief says the good news is none of the 4 young men arrested had ever been in trouble with the law.
Of individuals, they've had no contact with the police whatsoever, so they weren't even on our radar. I mean, we were looking into these breaks, but these 4 individuals, we had no idea who they were. I mean, they've never had any contact with the police department whatsoever.
Now that the summer months are here, the roads are filling up with bicycles, whether it be tourists enjoying a leisurely ride or people headed back and forth to work. It's important, as Chief McDonald says, to remember the rules of the road.
Basically, the rules of the road for the bicycle are almost the exact same for the rules of the road for motor vehicles. They have to obey all the motor vehicle laws. Their fines are a little bit different, and the way you address the problem is a little bit different. But basically, the law is the same. If they come upon a red light, they have to stop. I mean, they have to operate their motor vehicle on the far right-hand side of the roadway. They're supposed to be riding in single file. If they're supposed to be yielding to traffic in the road, they have to yield to the traffic in the road. So the rules of the road for the bicycles are pretty much the same as the rules of the road for the cars. The fatal accident, which happened 2 o'clock, was the last Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. That was very, very unfortunate, But the bicyclist, the accident reconstruction team is still out there, but it looks like the bicyclist was actually riding right down the middle of the road. So it's unfortunate the driver struck the poor woman and then the driver left the scene. If the driver had just stayed there, the issue probably would not be, she would not be having the problem she's having right now.
The Barnstable Economic Development Commission met this morning at Town Hall. Growth Management Director Joanne Miller-Buntich updated the team on the town's economic efforts, including the Kennedy Legacy Trail now in place.
The other item that we've done within the Cultural District, and I wanted to point out that we talked to you several years ago about the Gateway Hyannis Land Use and Economic Development Study, and the Kennedy Legacy Trail was one of the implementation items that was cited in this, which was an advisory piece for us. And so now we've implemented the Kennedy Legacy Trail, and here's the brochure, the walking tour. There's you'll see there's all kinds of ways to get around the Kennedy Legacy Trail. It's not quite finished. There's going to be some photo panels that are installed on the side of the Sturgis Museum, and in August the Peace Corps is going to add to their stop at Aselton Park with a plaque commemorating the Peace Corps anniversary. So that's a small beginning for that.
Buntich also discussed arts and culture initiatives and one aspect that could create housing for artists.
We're looking, one of the objectives of the growth incentive zone, the zoning is set up that way, is to produce housing that would be attractive to artists, including with workspace or just the type of apartments that would be affordable for them. And so we last year hired a consultant to do an architectural study of property that we own, that we've already committed to add more units to. And Melissa and Arden, thank you, worked on an Artist Link grant from Mass Cultural Council, so we can have a market consultant come in and really help us hone down on the need for artist workspace, gallery space, all those kinds of things. They'll take an inventory of what's existing and give us some good direction on what will come, what should come next. And we are also looking on the housing side, which strays into economic development even over and above the arts and culture program. The state has put out a new program for gateway cities called the Housing Development Incentive Program. It requires a lot from the community, but Art and I are really looking into it, and it allows funding for rental housing, which has an income eligibility for the first tenant, and then the income eligibility falls away. So they figured out with our assistance that the gateway cities don't need any more deed restricted affordable housing in their city centers because they have plenty. So they found a way to help us help incentivize market rate rental housing, which is the housing that the students will want to live in when they first get here. Families might want to live in for a time when they first get here. It's a really important missing link in our housing picture on Cape Cod, particularly in downtown Hyannis. So.
The group discussed downtown Hyannis as an economic center for Barnstable.
It's the regional commercial center of the Cape, and this is where people come to work and come to shop and come to play. And what we're missing is market rate housing and rental housing and maybe a grocery store and maybe a new hotel and maybe and all of those things are kind of in the works here. Parking structures, you know, to handle the stuff that goes on here. So I'm really hopeful and optimistic about what's happening here, and I think this is really a really good department, and we're anxious to show you that it is.
Well, from my perspective, what few customers I've had year to date all see a lot of good change. They like going to this is excellent, I think. This is really a great thing. But they feel Hyannis is better.
One member brought up the issue of the area's year-round population.
As you know, I've always felt that we should focus and put effort into attracting more permanent population, which means that you got to go out and talk to companies and businesses about locating here.
And we do that partly, but that's not part of our work that we can really share with you, because that's just sort of that's just the way that happens.
By law?
No, by request. You know, there are, I mean, as soon as something happens as a result of some of those conversations, you'll be the first to know. But you know, for example, the backfill at the Stop and Shop in Southwind Plaza has been under discussion for as long as I've been here. So you know, but it's not something that we can just discuss with everybody.
A part of that probably, but like if we identify an industry, like we talked about the healthcare industry, for example. If you look at the demographics, the aging population, the majority of seniors, et cetera, on the Cape certainly they'll need services and products going forward, and perhaps our permanent population will increase by percentage in that along those demographic lines. So if our desire is to increase our permanent population, and that permanent population is going to be seniors, then there are certain businesses that perhaps would like a presence here.
Economic development efforts in Barnstable, of course, are ongoing. You can learn more at businessbarnstable.com or highartsdistrict.com. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.